Hey everyone, my name's Justin, though you might know me online as Gravisword, and welcome to Being Retro. Welcome back everyone. In this episode, which spans 2 episodes, I want to explore Tandy's computing history, from start to, spoiler alert, finish. Sit back and enjoy. So it began not in Silicon Valley, but in Fort Worth, Texas. The year was 1919 and the product was leather, not laptops. Norton Hinckley and David L. Tandy started the Hinckley-Tandy Leather Company, selling supplies to shoe repair shops. But over the decades, this humble leather supplier would transform into one of the most important names in early personal computing. After World War II, Charles Tandy, son of co-founder Dave, spotted an opportunity. Leathercraft as a hobby for returning servicemen. Kits, tools, and know-how became the company's new identity. By the early 60s, Charles had taken full control, renaming the business Tandy Corporation and listing it on the New York Stock Exchange. But Charles was restless. He knew leather alone wouldn't keep Tandy growing. So, in 1963, he made the bold move to acquire struggling Boston-based electronics exchange Radio Shack, and for the amount of just $300,000. Now at the time, it looked like a risky gamble, but in reality, it was the turning point that would define Tandy for decades. Now, fast forward to 1977, personal computing was still a niche hobby, a playground for kit builders and university labs. Then came the so-called 1977 Trinity, the Apple II, the Commodore PET, and yes, the TRS-80 Model 1 from Tandy. 3 machines that brought personal computing into the mainstream. Now, Tandy's TRS-80, which stood for Tandy Radio Shack, with the 80 representing its usage of the Zilog Z80 CPU. Now, under that plastic was a carefully chosen set of components that made the TRS-80 both affordable and capable. It was announced on August 3rd in 1977 and sold exclusively in Radio Shack stores. The TRS-80 was a sleek gray and black machine bundled with BASIC, a monitor, and a cassette recorder. It cost $599 and customers were told to expect delays because demand quickly exceeded all forecasts. Radio Shack had hoped to sell 3,000 units in its first year. Instead, they moved over 10,000 in the first month alone, and over 200,000 over the next couple of years. Now, what was its secret weapon? Distribution. With thousands of Radio Shack stores across North America, the TRS-80 suddenly was in reach for the average consumer. No mail order forms, no exotic parts hunt, just walk in, plunk down your money, and carry out a computer. The TRS-80 family quickly grew. You had the Model 3 that had the integrated the keyboard and the monitor, the Model 4 that brought CP/M compatibility, and the Color Computer series, nicknamed affectionately the Coco, gave budget-minded users a taste of color graphics. Now, software followed. From VisiCalc to arcade-style games, Radio Shack stores became a gateway to the world of computing. So, while you might think of a single computer when you hear the TRS-80, and I know that's what I thought when I initially heard of it, but in reality, that name covered an entire range of machines, even when the underlying technology was completely different between different model lines. So, let's break it down. Now, as mentioned earlier, the Model 1's heart was a Zilog Z80 CPU running at 1.77 MHz. Now, why the odd clock speed? Well, it came from using a standard NTSC video timing crystal divided down, which was a great early example of cost-saving engineering. The base unit shipped with 4 kilobytes of RAM, expandable to 48. ROM held Microsoft Basic, one of Bill Gates' earliest big wins, living right alongside the firmware for screen handling. Now, video output was black and white, with 64 characters per line, 16 lines per screen, and a 128 by 48 pixel graphics mode that was created through block characters. It wasn't pixel addressable in the modern sense, but with creativity, programmers made magic happen. Now, storage. Well, you had cassette tapes. Remember, it was bundled with a cassette recorder. It was loaded at a blistering 250 bits per second, not bytes. Floppy drives were optional, and at over $1,000, they cost more than the base system itself. Now, the Model 3 replaced the sprawl of separate modules with an all-in-one case, monitor, keyboard, and mainboard, improved reliability and shielding, and removed the RF noise issues that annoyed the FCC. Now, internally, it was still a Z80, but it was at 2.03 MHz. But now, it had lower case characters and hardware, better key switches, and built-in floppy drive support. The operating system was TRS-DOS, Disk Operating System, though many preferred third-party OSs like LDOS for better stability. Now, the Model 4 finally embraced 80 columns by 24 lines, which was ideal for word processing and spreadsheets. It still spoke Model 3 Basic for compatibility, but it could also run CP/M, opening the door to thousands of business applications. Memory maxed out at 128K, and the Z80 could now run at a blazing 4 MHz, cutting through data faster than the 1977 original. With double-sided, double-density floppies, storage was hitting 720K per drive, which was a huge leap from cassette days. Now, alongside the Z80-based TRS-80 line, Tandy launched the color computer, the Coco, based on the Motorola 6809. Now, remember what I said? There's different architectures, different models. Now, this was a different animal entirely. You had 256 by 192 pixel graphics, up to 16 colors, and sound courtesy of a 6-bit DAC. Though marketed under the TRS-80 name at first, the Coco carved out its own niche with games, educational software, and OS 9, a multitasking, multi-user operating system unheard of in low-cost micros at the time. Now, they ultimately released 3 models. As you can imagine, Coco 1, Coco 2, and Coco 3. But Tandy also understood the power of an ecosystem. Printers, joysticks, speech synthesizers, and even modems were sold in Radio Shack stores, all designed to plug directly into TRS-80 machines. Expansion interfaces for the Model 1 gave users serial ports, extra RAM, and the ability to control external hardware, a boon for hobbyists and small businesses alike. From the blocky text of the Model 1 to the professional polish of the Model 4 and the colorful worlds of the Coco, the TRS-80 line demonstrated how incremental, well-chosen technology improvements could extend a platform's life over a decade. Now, Tandy didn't stop at desktops. They also went portable. And in the early 80s, the name TRS-80 was already a household word. Tandy had brought computing to the malls and main streets across North America through its Radio Shack stores. But what if you could carry a TRS-80 in your shirt pocket? That was the vision behind the TRS-80 Pocket Computer series. Tiny machines that blended calculator portability with true programmability. Now, the first model, the TRS-80 Pocket Computer, later known as the PC-1, wasn't actually a miniature TRS-80 under the hood. It was a rebadged Sharp PC 1211, which was powered by 2 custom 4-bit CMOS CPUs running at about 256 kHz. The display was an LCD, 24 characters wide, with a single line of text, but it could scroll program code or numeric output. Built-in BASIC allowed up to 1,424 program steps stored in low-power static RAM. Unlike most calculators of the era, the PC-1 let you write and store multiple programs with commands for loops, conditionals, and even subroutines. I/O was handled via optional peripherals, a cassette interface for storage, of course, and a tiny 4-color thermal printer. Both connected through a docking cradle, which also provided AC power. Now, the successor, the TRS-80 Pocket Computer 2, based on the upgraded Sharp PC 1500, looked and felt more serious. It was a wider 26-character display, a full QWERTY keyboard, and more powerful BASIC, including graphic commands for a 156 by 7 pixel LCD grid. RAM started at 8K, expandable via plug-in cartridges up to 32K. Now, this model could interface with a more capable printer plotter dock, which doubled as a tape storage interface. The PC2's expansion bus also allowed add-ons like measurement modules, which made it popular with engineers and lab techs who needed programmable, portable data collection. The PC3 returned to a slimmer calculator-style form factor, rebadged from the Sharp PC 1251. It kept the single-line 24-character display, but doubled program capacity over the PC1 and ran a faster CMOS CPU. It also improved the battery life, running for months on coin cells thanks to the ultra-low power circuitry. It also supported printer and cassette peripherals via a similar cradle. Now, the PC4, which was a Sharp PC1246 inside, targeted at casual users, it offered 544 program steps, 24 character LCD, and quick loading basic. It was inexpensive, but of course limited compared to the PC2. Now, while it lacked pixel graphics, it kept compatibility with the printer interface, making it useful for basic data logging and fieldwork. The PC5, based on the Casio FX880P, marked a shift. This was a true pocket computer with two-line, 40-character LCD, more memory, and more advanced BASIC with string handling, file I/O, and floating point math. Now, with optional interface cables, it also could communicate directly with desktop PCs. Very advanced at the time. Now, the PC6, which was a Casio PB1000 variant, brought a touchscreen. Yes, in 1987, with a 192 by 32 pixel LCD and on-screen soft keys, it was one of the most sophisticated pocket computers Radio Shack ever sold. By the late 1980s, the TRS-80 pocket computer was quietly retired as organizers, PDAs, and eventually laptops took over portable computing. But for a decade, these slim battery-powered machines put basic programming, data storage, and interfacing power in your pocket, often for under $200. They were traveling companions of engineers, surveyors, students, and tinkerers, proving that computing didn't always need a desk or even a backpack. The TRS-80 pocket computers might not have been true TRS-80s inside, but they carried the same spirit. Practical, accessible technology you could buy on a Saturday afternoon at the mall and carry with you everywhere. In a world before standardization, the TRS-80 wasn't just a computer, it was a family. Evolving, adapting, and proving that computing didn't have to live in a lab. It could live in your living room. Now, before we move on to the Tandy X1000 series line of computers, which will be in the next video, let's not forget to mention that there were a few other noteworthy entries in the TRS-80 family tree. We had the Model 600, the portable Model 200, the high-end Model 6000 HD, and the 1400 LT, and more. Each part of Tandy's ever-growing computing catalog. Now, before we go, let's take a look at some gameplay for the TRS-80 games of the era. That'll give you a great base of understanding what the capabilities were of the platform from 1997 onward. Now, do note that my TRS-80s are not functional, so I am using willus.com to showcase the games.
Shack presents Time Bandit. Good luck, Bandit.
I hope you enjoyed learning more about the Tandy TRS-80 computers and seeing some games in action. Stay tuned for the second part of the video that covers the IBM-compatible journey that Tandy endeavored in after this and their unfortunate and eventual exit from the industry. Now until next time, take care, stay safe, and as always, if you like this video, please click like. If you really liked it, please click subscribe, and as always, click that notification icon. This is Gravasaur saying, stay retro.